Mr. Liu's voice crackled over the phone line, a thin sound lost in the noise of the police station. It's not a dead rat, Tong Bin, I swear it. I know the smell of a dead rat. This is different. Officer Lee Tong Bin frowned. Different how, Mr. Liu? It's sweet, Mr. Liu stammered, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. A thick, sweet smell, like fruit that's gone rotten. And the Chung family on the 4th floor. I haven't seen them for a week, not a sound, not even the kids. Total silence. A week. But it's not just the smell, Tong Bin, Liu continued, his voice now full of fear. Last week, Aho's men went up there to collect a debt. Tattooed guys, loud as usual. You know them. Tong Bin knew them. They feared nothing. They came down fast. Just 5 minutes. Every one of them was pale as death. Atung, the toughest one, he vomited violently on the 3rd floor landing. They didn't say a word to me. I tried to ask, but they just mumbled, ghost possessed, and fled. Mr. Liu took a shaky breath. Their eyes, Tong Bin, they looked like they'd just seen a devil. Not scared, terrified. Atung even dropped his dagger. He didn't even bother to pick it up. Do you understand? A triad thug throwing away his weapon. They ran like something was chasing them. Whatever is on the 4th floor is scarier than a knife. You have to be careful. A chill ran down Tong Bin's spine. Gangsters afraid of ghosts. That was worse than gangsters afraid of cops. All right, I'm on my way, Tong Bin said, and hung up. He went straight to the Kowloon Walled City. He stepped into the concrete maze, a place where sunlight never touched the bottom. He began to climb. He ignored the industrial hum of sewing machines on the 1st floor. Suddenly, a dry, filthy hand snatched his ankle. Don't go up there. Tong Bin jumped, kicking his leg free. He was on the 2nd floor. A skinny addict looked up, his eyes bloodshot and wide, but with a desperate spark of clarity. Police, don't go up. I'm serious. Don't eat her food. Tong Bin froze. Mr. Liu's warning echoed in his head. Eat what? Who is she? Talk sense. So fragrant, the addict mumbled, trying to grip Tong Bin's pants. She just keeps cooking, day and night. Chinese sausage rice. It smells so good, but it's not for the living. The addict tried to crawl closer, his voice a panicked whisper. It's a trap. She doesn't want you to leave. She wants you to stay. Like the kids. She's keeping the kids. Don't eat. They ate it. They ate it, so now they can't leave. The man twitched lightly and then passed out, his head hitting the floor. Sausage rice. Tong Bin stood there for a second. The words of an addict meant nothing. But still, it unnerved him. He continued to climb, his hand now resting on the grip of his pistol. He reached the 3rd floor. The air here was eerily quiet. No daily arguments. He stopped. On the damp concrete steps, there were a few drops of blood. Fresh. They were small, but dark. Tong Bin immediately drew his pistol, muzzle down. He checked the drops. They weren't from a cough. They were drips. The blood trail led up the stairs to the 4th floor. He was ready for a fight, a bloody settlement. He thought he knew what was coming. He carefully took the last steps, moving toward the blood trail and Mr. Liu's warning. And then he reached the 4th floor. The blood stopped right in front of the Chung family's apartment. It hit him. The smell. Mr. Liu was right. It was sweet. A cloying sweetness of rot, of meat left too long in the heat. It was so strong Tong Bin had to cover his nose trying to breathe through his mouth. But through that wall of filth, he smelled it. The addict's warning was real. Rice, specifically the rich warm aroma of cooked Chinese sausage, garlic and soy sauce. The contradiction scrambled his brain. He stood before the flimsy peeling wooden door. It was ajar. The blood trail dried at the threshold. He heard it. The buzzing. A thick, constant sound. Thousands, tens of thousands of flies. The sound of a slaughterhouse. It was coming from inside. He didn't knock. He used the muzzle of his gun to push the door open. The hinge shrieked a long, mournful sound. The apartment was tiny, a single, cramped room, and the smell. Here, It was a full assault, both the rot and the rice. Tong Bin held his breath, fighting the urge to vomit, but then he saw them. In the corner, on a tattered mat, were two children. Two little girls, one about 6, the other maybe 4. They were sitting neatly, playing with old cloth dolls. They looked up at him, their eyes large, black, and completely calm. What stunned him was not their presence. It was their appearance. In this room, swimming in filth, the two children were strangely clean. Their clothes were neat. Their hair was combed. They looked like they had just stepped out of a photograph. Their calm, their cleanliness was more terrifying than the sound of the flies. "Hello, children." Tong Bin lowered his gun but kept it ready. "Where are your parents?" The older girl smiled, a polite smile. "Hello, officer. Daddy is far away at work. And where is your mommy?" "Mommy's sleeping," the girl whispered, putting a finger to her lips. "Please be quiet." Tong Bin frowned. "Sleeping? You know your apartment has a very bad smell?" The girl tilted her head, confused. "What bad smell? I only smell Mommy's cooking." "Mommy was cooking all day," the girl continued to whisper. "She's very tired, she just went to rest. I don't want to bother her." Tong Bin looked closely at the two children. Where was the blood from the door? What had the gangsters seen? You look very clean." "Yes," the older girl nodded, pleased. "Mommy said we must be clean." "Who bathed you?" Tong Bin asked, his throat dry. "Mommy bathed us." Tong Bin froze. The feeling of unreality was growing. "When?" "This morning. Mommy said we must be clean before we eat rice." "This morning." Something in this room had bathed them. He glanced at the single faucet in the kitchen corner. It was rusted and dry. "What water did Mommy use to bathe you?" he asked. "Mommy has her own water." That's when Tong Bin noticed the small plywood table next to them. On the table was a porcelain bowl. Steam was rising from the rice. Delicate steam rose from the white rice. On top were slices of bright red Chinese sausage, glistening with oil. The warm, savory aroma of soy sauce and meat came directly from that bowl. It was fresh. It was hot. A chill ran down his spine. "This rice," he said. "Did your mommy cook this?" "Yes," the older girl nodded. Tong Bin glanced quickly at the cold stove in the corner. The electric cooker was unplugged, covered in thick dust and cobwebs. The stovetop was cold. He looked back at the steaming bowl. He pointed at the stove. "What did Mommy use to cook?" The little girl smiled, a smile so innocent it was terrifying. "With love." Tong Bin didn't believe it. The addict's words rang in his head. "It's a trap." He stepped to the table. He had to know. He hesitated for a second, then touched his finger to the side of the porcelain bowl. He snatched his hand back instantly. Hot, burning. The sharp, stinging pain was real. Impossible. This was real. He bent down, inhaling deeply over the bowl. The rich aroma, garlic, soy sauce, and smoked meat. No trace of rot in this bowl. It was perfectly pure. He looked at his finger, still red. Then he looked at the bowl. He looked at the clean children. "Where is your mommy sleeping?" he asked, his heart hammering against his ribs. The girl pointed to a faded floral curtain hanging on a wire. "Mommy is in there." Tong Bin took a deep breath, holding it. The stench from behind the curtain was so thick it was almost tangible. He stepped past the children. They went back to playing with their dolls. He stood before the curtain. The buzzing was now deafening. He used his gun's muzzle to slowly push the curtain aside. A heavily decomposed corpse, swarmed with flies, lay in a pool of liquid. It was no longer human. It was a swollen, bloated mass, the skin stretched tight, gray-green and glistening in the dim light. It lay in a pool of dark, viscous fluid. Tong Bin recoiled instantly, letting the curtain fall back. He turned, gasping for air. He looked at his finger, still stinging from the heat. He looked at the corpse, dead for at least a week. He looked at the clean children, bathed this morning. And he looked at the burning hot bowl of rice. "Did you?" He tried to keep his voice steady but failed. "Did you eat the rice?" "Yes, silly," the smaller girl piped up. "It was delicious." Terror seized him. He stumbled back out of the apartment, tripping over the threshold. He grabbed his radio with a trembling hand. He screamed into it. "Backup! Requesting backup! And the coroner! 4th floor, Chung apartment, now! Send everyone up here, now!" Immediately, he heard heavy footsteps pounding up the stairs. The whole building seemed to shake. The forensic team, led by Tran, finally arrived. They stopped when they saw Tong Bin sitting on the ground, drenched in sweat, his gun pointed at the apartment. "God, Lee, the smell," Tran started, pulling his mask up. "What's in there?" Tong Bin didn't get up. He was shaking. He just raised his finger, pointing inside. "The table, the bowl. Be careful, it's hot." Tran looked at him with alarm, then at his colleagues. He signaled them to wait. He stepped past Tong Bin, walking straight to the table Tong Bin was pointing at. He looked at the table. Then he turned back to Tong Bin, his eyes full of pity. "Lee, you've inhaled too much of the gas," Tran said, his voice firm. "There's no bowl of rice on this table, just an empty, moldy bowl, and a few dead cockroaches in it. It's probably been there for weeks." Tran glanced quickly at the swaying curtain. "Jesus, just the corpse, dead 10 days. No, you don't understand. It was there. It was hot." Tong Bin repeated, his voice cracking. "I touched it." He shoved Tran aside and lunged for the table. The medical examiner was right. The plywood table was empty. No white porcelain bowl, no red Chinese sausage, no steam. Just a faint, discolored circle on the dusty surface where a bowl might have been long ago. He looked at his fingertip. The red mark, the burn, was gone. No trace. The smell of sausage rice had vanished completely. The room was now filled only with the overwhelming stench of death, 10 times stronger, as if it had just been released. He stood there, stunned. He had seen it. He had smelled it. He had felt it. He turned, bewildered. A social worker who had come with Tran's team was gently leading the 2 little girls out. The children went obediently, without crying. They didn't scream. They just held their dolls and walked. As the older girl walked past Tong Bin, who stood frozen like a statue, she stopped. She tugged gently on his sleeve. He looked down. His heart stopped. Her clear, innocent eyes looked right into his. "Officer," she whispered, her voice like a cold breeze in the hot hallway. "Yes, yes, child," he stammered. She smiled, a sweet, peaceful smile. "You're being too loud. You're going to wake Mommy. Thanks for watching until the end. What was your favorite part? Please let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss my future content. Your support is my biggest motivation. Thank you all so much."